Z Show.
I love documentaries, but I've been on this one about islands, and there's been two that I've watched recently that are completely different documentaries, but they're both having to do with islands.
Okay.
One is The Lost Pirate Kingdom.
Oh, yeah, that one was good.
Which is like a documentary, but also kind of like a romanticizing and then a dramatic retelling.
Yeah.
Right? You know how
it seemed like a movie.
It did.
Or like a TV series, like a show that you would watch, like the Vikings or something like that.
Yeah.
It actually was, it was entertaining, educational, and the acting wasn't that bad. I mean, for a documentary.
It wasn't. No, and that's the other point, is it had recognizable actors in it. They weren't like actors that you go, oh, that's Lorenzo Lamas. No, it was like, oh, I know that guy. He's in, was he in?
Downton Abbey.
He was like, had the third speaking line. He was like in the bar scene. So you kind of recognize the actors.
Right.
And then they do a good job of retelling the story.
Yeah.
There's some part, I mean, and it's fascinating. Like the idea of Nassau and how it got founded.
Yeah.
Right.
Bahamas.
In the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And then how, you know, what it is today. It's just crazy to think about what it came from to now.
I know. I never really, I mean, I'm into pirate stuff, but I wasn't like big into it. So I didn't really like study a lot on where they came from and all of that. But this actually gave me a great insight into like Blackbeard and all these pirates and just how it created a culture around wherever they were. So for instance, you know, Treasure Island or Nassau is huge. Like if you go there, it's huge on pirate culture. You know, they have a huge ship. They have the Atlantis, all of that. And then Florida, you know, the Keys, all around the coast of Florida and South Carolina and North Carolina, how that impacted that culture. So if you go down to Key West, it's huge pirate culture, you know? So it's pretty amazing to think how that plays a part in today's world.
It's also interesting to, because one aspect of the pirate story, so I would say that tangentially, like when it comes to pirates, like I've enjoyed some pirate movies here and there. I've enjoyed some pirate stories here and there.
Yeah.
And when they came up in like historical things when I was in class, I was interested a little bit.
Yeah.
But what's but what I didn't realize, and one thing that this thing I guess illuminated, is that they were really, really a thorn in the side of the slave trade.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Now they want to portray it in a way that it's altruistic.
Right.
And maybe there was some of that, right? I could see that, you know, like Blackbeard famously had a sidekick called Black Caesar.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think it was more about the
booty.
gold, right? Because a lot of them would wait till after.
It's always about the booty.
Till after the slaves were sold.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And then they would attack the ships because then they were full of gold. Some of them they would attack while they had, and then they would offer them a chance to be pirates. And
that was, I didn't realize
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
And although definitely the life at sea is dirty and nasty, they were, again, this was a romantic, somewhat retelling of it. Now, they didn't really shy away from the disgusting parts, which I'm going to talk about one of those parts in a second because it's gross. But it definitely was trying to portray them in a better light, which, again, probably wasn't that glorious.
Right.
But it probably wasn't as bad as what we've been led to believe because our culture told us pirates are evil, blah, blah, blah. It's just weird to hear that the idea of a pirate being a bad person could some way connect all the way back into slavery as far as why they hated pirates so much was because they were messing with the slave trade.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting thought process, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, the being fully aware of what was going on in the United States at the same time and why these guys were such a thorn in their side. But the only complaint I have about that documentary was that they didn't shy away from being graphic, which at again, I mean, if you're going to show a brothel, you're going to show a brothel, right?
Right.
If you're going to show, how a woman who was famous for having her breast out as a pirate on a ship, you're going to portray that realistically.
Right.
Everybody kind of knew that Blackbeard was a crazy man because he had some kind of disease or whatever, but they peg it in this. It's syphilis, which also coincidentally is also responsible for the reason why people wore white wigs, because syphilis was so rampant back in the day that people didn't have a cure for it. So it's all kinds. I'm not going to get lost on the white wig story. I'm going to stay on this one.
Stay on this one.
All right. So basically, he's got syphilis, and it's driving me crazy. And apparently, the pain from it is excruciating. And back then, they thought the cure for it, which all it really did was just. All right, so let me tell you what they would do. If you had syphilis as a male, they would take a metal tube, and they would stick it into the head of your thing, right?
Yeah.
And they would inject liquid mercury.
Wouldn't that kill you?
It kills everything, right? But I guess unless it goes into certain parts of your body, it won't kill it. But what it would do, I guess, is burn off all. It's pretty gross, right? Sorry. And that would relieve the pain. Can you imagine, for a while, can you imagine how painful it must be that that's what you would go through to get some relief from it? But in any case, the part that I have a complaint about is as they're describing this, again, it's a dramatic retelling inserted with documentary stuff. They show him going to visit this doctor in this creaky ass, I think he was on the boat, some wooden, damp, ugly, gross, dark place.
Yeah.
They actually show him with his thing out and the tube, the metal tube going in it.
Yeah.
And they don't, there's no warning, right? It's just like all of a sudden here's that. Oh, I wasn't expecting. Oh no. Right. I wasn't expecting to see a penis in this type of film.
Right. Yeah.
But I get it. Okay. Hey, look, fair game. They showed the brothel, so fair game. I get it. I definitely wasn't expecting to see a graphic depiction of how you treated syphilis during pirate days.
Right. Yeah.
We don't do that in polite society, right? We don't show that.
No, but they not only showed it once.
Showed it twice.
They showed it twice.
Because it's one of those documentaries that whenever they are referencing something, they re-show it. So if they're like, oh, when Blackbeard did this, they'll re-show it. So this lady, and I don't like her because she did it, she goes, as you remember, he was suffering from syphilis. And it immediately cuts to a scene of that. Yeah. So they're like, we're real proud of this shot.
Yeah, we have to get our money's worth.
I think about it in terms of filmmaking. Like, they're real proud because they had to light that, right?
Yeah.
They had to figure out the logistics of filming that whole scene. They probably had a dummy penis.
Yes.
And then they had to get the lighting just right, set it up.
Yeah.
And then filmed it, and they were like, "That's a good one.
We did a great job.
That's a good one. You see the lighting." See the lighting on that?
It looks believable.
We shot from the shadow side. It was pretty cool.
High five.
High five.
We did a
We got to show it twice. We got to show it at least twice. Anyways, it was a great documentary though. Highly recommend.
Yeah, it actually as we were watching it, I thought that it would be cool as an actual TV show, like a Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like on HBO. Like if they made that story into like some crazy Game of Thrones type of series, I'm sure that it would be popular.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. And I wish, honestly, and I know that the Pirates of the Caribbean are just, throwaway movies. It's just fun. Let's just have fun with this character that Johnny Depp played. But if that movie were this documentary, that would have been so much better.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
It would have been so much better.